Today's lesson is Chapter 6, Lesson 2 on pages 385 through 390. Our objective is I can estimate products of whole numbers and decimals. Question 1 is each row of a square equals. Question 2, the video says to rearrange as many blank grids as possible.
Multiply decimals by whole numbers. What is the product of 9/10 and 3? Let's use decimal models. Remember that a 10 by 10 grid represents 100, but it can also represent the number 1. We'll use grids like this to multiply a decimal by a whole number. First, draw 3 10 by 10 grids to show the factor 3. Then shade 9 rows of each decimal model to represent 9/10. There are 3 groups with 9/10 in each group. Rearrange the shaded rows to form as many 10 by 10 grids as possible. There are 2 whole models and 1 model with 7 rows. The product is 2 and 7/10. So 9/10 times 3 is equal to 2 and 7/10.
Okay, so here's what it looks like in your book. I'm on page 385. So if we tried to find 4/10 times 2 using decimal models. So remember, even though you're used to this being a base 10 block of 100, it can also represent one whole. So we're thinking of it as one whole in this case. So we can shade 4 rows of each model to represent 4/10. So here's the 2 wholes, which is the whole number, and we have to multiply it by 4/10. So we're going to shade 4/10 on each. So see how these are all 10 blocks? We are shading 4 rows, which is one 10 block each. Then we combine both the shaded parts onto one model. So you combine them so that you can try to get to one whole if possible. So you're just kind of pushing them around, pushing it together. So when you combine it, you have 8/10, and you still have 2/10 that aren't shaded here. So we know that the amount shaded is 8/10. So that is the answer to the multiplication problem. 4/10 times 2, it's 8/10. Okay, so let's look at one more example. So this is 6/10 times 3. So once again, first we're going to get out 3 wholes, which are our base 10 blocks that we used to call the hundreds blocks, but we're going to call them just one whole. So here's a hole, here's a hole, and here's a hole. So we have 3 holes. And we need to shade 6/10 on each of these. So that's why they drew this line over here, because you're going to shade 6/10 on each. So if I fill that in, here's 6/10, 6/10, and 6/10. And then we have to combine the shaded parts. So if I'm putting 6/10 with 6/10, well, I know I can put 4, because that'll fill up one hole. And then I'll be left with 2/10 here, but I still have 6/10 over here. So I can move that over, and it'll be 8/10. So I'll have one whole and 8/10, because then I'll just have 2/10 that weren't filled up. So the shaded part is 1 and 8/10. So 6/10 times 3 is 1 and 8/10. Okay, so let's look back at these questions. So question 1 is each row of a square equals. So think of those rows. What were they representing in the problems? In question 2, the video says to rearrange as many blank grids as possible. So rewatch that video if you need to.